There are unsettling places within this passage, aren't there? When you hear it closely and you listen to what's taking place here. Unsettling places, but that shouldn't be surprising for us. That often is the truth and the way it is with the gospel lesson that we hear. Unsettling things. Things that should cause us to shift in our seats a bit. Things that should cause us to wonder what crazy, wild world we live in. It was so for them then, and Joseph and Mary, and it's so for us today. How the world just spins out of control sometimes. It seems more jarring, maybe, when we hear it right now. The first Sunday of a new year, when we're looking into a new year with hope and promise, when we've come out of a Christmas time, too, and we're just in the midst of Christmas still. We can see the candles here from the Advent wreath and the Christ candle and the poinsettias and other signs in which, yes, we're still in the Christmas season for us. But then we're suddenly jarred with everything that we've had that has been tender and a silent night. And the candles that we hold on Christmas Eve that flicker for us and give us a warmth and a sense of settledness and a sense of all is well in this world in our lives because Christ is born among us here and now, and we can feel at peace and comforted by it all. And then we hit this jarring message from the gospel here of Matthew today. We might want to kind of skip over a little bit of that, or kind of just hang out with the dream that Joseph has and the vision that takes place for him, where an angel comes and visits with the dream that he has. And we love the vision and the dreams that's there, and realizing that an angel comes there in his midst and gives him that dream and a vision to carry himself and his family forward to a safety. And then we hear intermingled in between that then the word that Herod is on the hunt for them. And the slaughter of the innocents. Those little ones who were held comforted in their mother's arms were nabbed from the mothers and killed. And it will jar us. And it will cause us to be at the very least unsettled, so it should. In the midst of the tenderness and the peace and the comforts, the gospel once again shakes us and rattles us with the dangers in this world to which our Christ has been born. I remember reading some time back about this little pamphlet of a book that looked innocent enough when I first got it, because it was just a brief little book that was called The Adult Christ at Christmas by Raymond Brown. And when I got further into it, I realized the depth and the significance of it and what it was meaning for helping me to lift up and rise up outside and beyond just seeing the cuddly Christ in the manger at Christmas, and to seeing something so much more significant that's there for us. So much more that we need to get deeper into, and will take us higher and higher from just what we might say are the sentimentalities of the season that we all have, that our culture embraces. But we are here today to look beyond those cultural places that our world today just celebrates Christmas with the twinkly lights and all, which is good, and we love that. We're here to go deeper. We're here for Christ and for God to just take us all the way further. Further, so that we can know of the fullness of a hope and a life that we're given in a world such as today. So I want to think here for a moment. I ask you to be with me here for a moment. What are those Christmas movies that you just love to turn on this season of the year? Or sometimes it will be any time during the year. You just love to put that DVD or that VHS tape, maybe even because it's this old dear one that you have, and that's all that you have it on is that VHS tape. But you want to play it every Christmas. You pull it out and you pop it in. You watch it because it just, envelops you with a sense of comfort and well-being. Maybe because it's that tried and true, that's something that you're familiar with, and it just says, yeah, Christmas. Maybe even in the middle of the year, when you just need that comfort, you watch one of those Christmas movies. What are those Christmas movies that you just love? What are these? Tell me right now. What are these? A Wonderful Life. Absolutely. Yes?
Grinch.
The Grinch? Yeah. Okay. Was that your? Yes. Go. The Rudolph the Red. Absolutely. Yes? Ouch. Elf. I love it. Ouch. Elf. What's that?
Charlie Brown.
Oh, of course. Charlie Brown and the Christmas. You got another one?
White Christmas.
A White Christmas. Ah, yes. With the music and...
Scrooge.
Scrooge. Yep, the Christmas Carol. Absolutely.
Miracle on 34th.
Miracle on 34th Street. Yes. Yeah. In more recent viewing, like we were just watching the other day, that Santa Claus, Tim Allen. You know, there's something about it. Now, how quickly that becomes enculturated into us as well. But there's so many of them, actually, that we'll turn on, we'll watch, and we'll enjoy them because we need that comfort, in a way, I think, is part of what that is. We'll need that way of seeing that tradition, the rituals that we have. They keep us in a way, in a place that we have, that we walk through seasons of year like this, that are rituals to us, that help us to feel like everything isn't coming to pieces quite as much as when I turn on the evening news, it'll look like, huh? The world is just being pulled in all directions, and sometimes we think it's getting worse rather than anything improving, and we'll be unsettled by it. We'll be shaken to the core sometimes. So the rituals and those patterns that we have in seasons of life help us to have security. They help us to feel a bit secure in a troubled world. They do that. Rituals can be helpful and good for us in that way. And that's part of what that is, watching those movies, but having that way in which even it's a sentimentality then that we're capturing there. They're beginning to experience being sentimental and nostalgic about things. I must say that there can be goodness in that, but there also can be danger in it. Stanley Hauerwas, a theologian, was writing about the greatest danger to Christianity in this day, he was writing. And at first when I was reading, I thought, he's going to jump right to what, like atheism, isn't that it? Or the militant Islamism, or places of just agnosticism, or a culture, or what, consumerism, things like that. But that's not where he went. The greatest risk, Hauerwas said, to Christianity today is sentimentalism. I think, but that's dear. You know, I like to be sentimental, huh? It gives me comfort. It soothes a troubled soul sometimes, that sentimentality, that nostalgia. And look at pictures that are still rich for us today that Norman Rockwell painted in times of troubled days in this nation, during World War, preceding and during and after World War II. And those pictures that we look at, they are that nostalgia, sentimentality that help us to see a world in a way that's like, yeah, that's what I hope and long for, huh? Those things that he would draw and paint. But he did so in a time when the world was greatly troubled. And when he was questioned about it and asked about it, Rockwell, why is it that that's all you paint when there's a world out there that's ugly and dark? And he said it comes out of a longing and a hope that I have for the ways that it could be if only. That's where that sentimentality kind of triggers for us. The want and the desire and the dream and the vision that we see that God gives to us, that the angels come and speak to us about the world in which God is calling us into. But it's bigger and it's more important than sentimentality here. Because what sentimentality can do for us is to cause us to be comfortable right where we are right now. It can cause us to just paint a pretty picture of the world and of things. And that's not what our faith just does for us. Joseph and Mary had given birth to the Son of God. They were in that Bethlehem place that we have painted in a way that says, yeah, it was this beautiful straw manger and a comforting place where the animals would speak and the stars would twinkle and the shepherds would come and coo over the baby and kings from afar would come and honor him and all. And we have this beautiful picture of that manger scene that's there, but remember that there was no room for them in the comforts of the inn. So they were in that falling apart manger where just animals were placed, you know. And then they were called forth from that place that we have comfortized and sentimentalized out into the dangerous world because Herod was after Jesus. And that is the truth of that day and that time and that world. And it's the truth about today as well, right now. In all sorts of ways. How the cross looms over. Even our hymns today reflected the cross. The blood of Christ, the cross, the crucifixion that's there. It was all a part of that time of the birth of Jesus. God called Mary and Joseph to usher Jesus to Egypt, out into the world. Yes, to hold the Savior safe from the harm of Herod, but also to reach out into the world far and beyond that place in Palestine, in Bethlehem, in that whole region. To reach you, to reach me, to reach us in the places where we too are finding ourselves shaken and troubled to this very day. The Christ finds his way to us. The dreams and vision that Joseph was given, he listened to them and he moved with them. Even though he knew that there would be danger out there, he knew that God would be with him. Certainly they had God in arm in Jesus Christ. The angels would be surrounding them and be accompanying them on their journey. They knew that. And in that way they could go into any place that they were called. Doesn't that help us in our new year to come then? Wherever you are called into this new year of 2017, whatever's next for you in your life that God is calling you into and that the Spirit is working on you and even calling you to get up from your settled place. Settled place of a place where you've created all the comforts of home. And to leave that place and to go to another place that you can go knowing God will be with you. And you seek that out today and all through the year, you find yourself then actually held in a comfort that's much greater than a nostalgia, than a sentimentality, because it's actually with the very presence of God. God who has plans for us all. Individually, but then corporately as a body, as the church. But then of all of God's humanity, all of God's creation itself, God has a plan and is working us toward that. And is calling us on a journey that's ahead now in this new year. Let us go with a bravery, with a courage. Let us go also then with a hope that is beyond any hope that this world can offer us. Any ways that we can try to manipulate and create it. Let us go with God's hope and with God calling us forward. As we now will gather around this Holy Communion table, we will do so then with that last place of the passage that we heard today that is a bit cryptic. We're not quite sure what it means, even the scholars who have studied it for the longest of times, and all the way through Scripture. You can see in Matthew, in the 2nd chapter, so many quotations of prophets who said the one who's been promised is coming. In so many different ways, the prophet's word is called forward in this passage. And then there's that line that says, and he shall be a Nazarene. They're not sure from where that comes out of the prophets, where that comes out of the Old Testament. Some have said it comes from Isaiah in the 11th chapter. And it's focusing upon the branch that comes out of the root of Jesse, it says in Isaiah 11. They think that maybe that was the reference somewhere inside of that because Nazarene means a branch. And this branch that comes out of the root of Jesse brings hope. It's already in the darkness of winter that we're looking to spring. New life coming. Resurrection. Like every Sunday is. And we're looking for how it is that God will bring new life from this old life. New life from places of despair or of hopelessness. And a branch will be there. And out of that branch will come all that God has promised to us. The branch we know is that fruit of that vine, the vine of Jesus the Christ. He gives you new hope. A new day. That's what that passage is for us from Matthew in the 2nd chapter. Trust in the hope of God, in God's future, who walks with us here and now and always. So we gather around the Holy Communion table now as the community of the faithful. And I invite you to open your hymn book to page number 13.